Hello. Good day, everyone. This is your elected district leader, Albert Baldeo, bringing an update on my views on the three issues that are very current in the community, three issues that has gripped our community, and for which I need to share some light upon. The first issue is getting your real IDs, because coming May 17th, you will no longer be allowed to board a flight internally, and you wouldn't be able to travel without your passport internationally. Broken down, that means if you plan to go to Florida, if you plan to go to New Jersey, if you plan to go to California, if you need to go anywhere, protect yourself. Going to the Department of Motor Vehicles, the closest one. There are many in the area. Google it, you will find one. Springfield, Jamaica, they're all over the place. Inquire of them. They are not immigration. They are not ICE. They are not folks who would arrest you or turn you over to ICE. They are there to serve the public. They will issue you with a notice of documents you need to get. Simple paper said you don't have this, get this, and that will help you to get what you require. That is all. They are not enforcement for immigration or Department of Homeland Security. They're merely there to advise you whether you qualify and what you need to get. That is the Department of Motor Vehicles to travel. If not, some folks have been going by bus. They've been going by car. But as long as you're going to board an airline, come May 17th, I think it's May the 7th. Whatever it is, do it now. Make sure you get those documents, a real ID, to travel. You can still use your U.S. passport. A U.S. passport can still be used to travel within the United States and outside of the United States. Let's say if you're going to Guyana, Trinidad, India, wherever you may be going, a U.S. passport will be enough, or a person who's in legal status can show those papers if they're coming through the United States. So that's the first advice and first item I wanted to remind you of. Get your real IDs, update your passports, become citizens of the United States, this great country. Do not live here as a second-class citizen. Things have changed. You need to protect yourself. You need to empower yourself. You need to go out and vote. I need to make sure that you get all your documents in order. Don't just jump on a plane or jump on anywhere else. Always walk with your ID. Don't drink and drive. Don't commit crimes. Don't get where the police you can get into problems. Because if an arrest is made by police, they can turn you over to ICE. And as much as they're saying that the laws of sanctuary cities and all of these things, a lot of these rights are under attack right now. Also, the Born in the United States, the birthright citizenship law has been struck down by the judges who say that those who are born here must also be protected, meaning that they can be deported. Let's say a child is born in the United States of illegal parents, undocumented immigrants who came here, are in the process of getting their green cards, but have no green cards, have no valid status. The courts have ruled, the federal courts, that those children are protected. They are born United States citizens. They cannot be deported. So as we continue to fight and call for interpretation and for justice from the courts, you also have to protect yourselves and not squeal on others. There's no incentive. There's no money for you to squeal on other folks about their basement apartments, illegal apartments, or about their status or lack of citizenship. Undocumented folks here, there's no reward. I've been hearing people saying that you get money, $135 or whatever. That is not so. You will get nothing except be a very nasty person to report others. Go about your business. Let others live as you should, as a community. And I would advise you not to get involved in those kinds of malicious conduct and tit-for-tat behavior. Having said that, of course, that means someone asks you the question if you're undocumented, meaning if you're on the illegal here, can you travel via an aircraft? I will not advise it. It sends you to the secondary inspection. Secondary inspection at an airport leads to Department of Homeland Security enforcing its laws. And right now, it's very risky. And the administration is enforcing its laws as it was elected to do. And that's a policy you need to be aware of and respect this great country, its constitution, and the laws. That is how you become good citizens. The law is that if you're undocumented, you cannot travel without a real ID, and that real ID can only come from the motor vehicle. Folks have asked me if you need a social to go in. Well, going to the DMV, like I said, they're not going to deport you, they're not going to arrest you, they're going to advise you. One was advised to get a letter from the Social Security Department saying that I am not eligible for a Social Security card. The letter from the Social Security office under its letterhead will be enough proof to the DMV that it should be issued a real ID. So there's always a solution to something. Don't always say, oh, you know, this person told me this person told me that. Everybody is a politician, doctor, lawyer, or engineer out there. Everybody is a brain box in our community. So you need to consult the proper authorities before you misadvise yourself and before you take advice that can really harm you as a person living in this great United States. Coming on and moving on from that, we now move to Kumar Naraine, a young pandit, 17 years old. Kumar Naraine was missing since the 6th of April. 6th of April is now coming on to a month of his month's disappearance. Kumar Naraine was last seen in the community, and he had some issues with his parents, and he disappeared after that. I hope that he's alive, and I hope that folks who know about him, and Kumar himself, that if he needs protection, if he needs advice, if he needs counseling, if he needs some sort of emancipation, whatever he's looking for, he can get that through our efforts. If he and his parents are not getting along and he decides to be emancipated, as you know, as long as he becomes 21, he's emancipated. There's a situation where at 17, he may be able to get a court order to say that he can live by himself or that he can take care of himself or with relatives he chooses to do. And if he's being abused or beaten or whatever it is at home or wherever, I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just saying if there's a fear of that, contact me, Albert Baldeo, district leader, and I'll be able to help you, Kumar Naraine, Pandit Kumar Naraine, to ensure that your rights, your fundamental rights, are taken care of and that you get what you desire. But at the same time, I would ask Kumar Naraine, wherever he may be, to remember the pain and suffering he's caused his parents and the community. And I hope that he's alive. I pray for a safe return. But I think that this is where the family's got to work with each other. Kumar Naraine has got to step forward and said, this is my problems at home or whatever it is. This is my problems at whichever mandir he is. This is my problem with the pandit. This is my problem with whenever I use whatever it's called, whenever I smoke or inhale or whatever, people find it to be a problem. These are issues that can be worked out. These are issues that can be taken care of. These are issues that you need to ventilate. You have rights as a young man. You should not allow that for your mother to be crying and suffering, your family, your community, your pandits and all of that. You need to bring peace to this community. And Kumar Naraine is one of the issues that we focus on and make a public call, joining the other public calls that we've made to him, to act mature enough at 17 years old to contact elders of the community or myself as a district leader elected by the people to keep your confidences sacred, keep confidentiality, and meet with me. Call me, 718-529-2300. That's 718-529-2300. Call me. I'll be able to intervene with your parents, your pandits, or whatever, who may be the problem in your life, and you'll be able to continue your schooling and your education. Those are the most important and fundamental things right now. Now it brings me to a very important question or issue that's going on right now. And I wanted to quote Martin Carter, one of Guyana's greatest poets. Martin Carter said, all are involved, all are consumed. That means an issue that grapples the entire community in Guyana, the Caribbean, the world, and not least in Little Guyana in the United States. In New York, I've been going around cricket grounds. As you know, I play cricket. I have the most centuries in softball cricket. So that's one of my hobbies. And everywhere I go in the supermarkets, the streets, wherever, there is talk of Adrienna Younge, the young teenager, 11 years old, who was brutally killed or murdered or missing, wherever the fact she and the community demand justice. And that must be done. So following what Martin Carter said, there's also a brilliant quote from St. John Bosco, who says, the power of evil men lives on in the cowardice of the good. The power of evil men lives on in the cowardice of the good. So you out there watching, and you out there who are seeing this, and you out there who are hearing about this, if you have a conscience and you know anything about this murder or about this teen being killed, you need to step up and you need to give that evidence. You need to give that what you know to the authorities so this case can result in closure or in justice being done. Justice must be done in this case. There's no other way of putting this. There's no other way that this can be swept under the rug. We have seen the murders of Paper Shorts, Monica Reese, and several others in my time as a prosecutor in Guyana. And I want to talk about this, wearing my other hat as a senior state counsel, senior prosecutor, police legal advisor, and someone who's prosecuted dozens of murder cases prior to coming to the United States. And this is my simple advice and my simple call upon those who are responsible for this investigation. The Director of Public Prosecutions must step up. This is her area. The Director of Public Prosecutions is in charge of all criminal indictments, all criminal cases. She's a sole and exclusive authority. Let's say I was to sue someone in Guyana for file a criminal charge for trespass, for example, or let's say grievous bodily harm against someone there, or for fraud or whatever, criminal fraud. That the Director of Public Prosecutions has the duty to inquire into the case, look at the facts and the evidence, and impartially, that's the word, impartially, and without fear or favor, come to a conclusion whether she should proceed with the case or whether she should withdraw the case. You see, Ms. Hack has the tremendous and sole exclusive authority, as I once had as a prosecutor in Guyana, working in the Director of Public Prosecutions as a senior state counsel, to make all charging decisions, whether people are being charged politically for political motivations, whether they're being charged because of spite or malice. You, as a prosecutor, must intervene and ensure that justice is done, that the charges are fair and they can be substantiated in the court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. Other than that, charges cannot be brought unless that standard is achieved. It's a very thankless job because sometimes people play on emotions. They want to see somebody held accountable, but you have to get the evidence. Now, towards that, I have some simple advice for the law enforcement in Guyana. I have done, like I said, many cases. There's a case of State and Alvin Mitchell, which reminds me. In the State and Alvin Mitchell, a case in 1984, which I prosecuted and made a law report. It made law in the Commonwealth. That case, a judge withheld an indictment and he struck it out from going to the jury. The jury were leaning towards conviction because this was a waitress, Nastawanti Persad, a very humble waitress trying to make a living in Bartica at one of the nightclubs. And there was an accused person called Alvin Mitchell. Alvin Mitchell picked her up at the disco. He told her that he was going to give her a drop home. He did not drop her home. He raped her. He killed her. He strangled her. She was seeing her monthly period. And she was thrown out of that vehicle into a clump of bushes. That is why that case is called the Body in the Bush murder case. And I prosecuted that case with vehemence and with courage. I was threatened many times. I was actually run off the road in prosecuting those and other kick down the door bandits and so on. Because I felt that justice had to be done for this person who had nobody else but me standing in that courtroom. Very poor waitress, trying to make a living from Bartica, knew no one. Case came to me for prosecution. And I did it with vigor. And up to now, that case haunts me. You know why? Because the judge dismissed the case. The judge told the jury that there's no evidence for you to answer. But this is what happened in that case. When I had the pathologist and forensic expert, Dr. Leslie Mutu, on the stand, Dr. Mutu made a very fatal mistake. He said that the injuries to this young woman, who did Nastawanti, could have been caused by her falling out of the vehicle, in addition to someone committing asphyxiation, that is choking her to death. The fact that he gave two versions that caused death was wrong. Because as a pathologist, he should have clarified that answer. But a judge came out and he stopped it and he blocked it and we fought. We almost had a riot in the court. But a judge had other motives. He and the defense counsel were friends. Defense counsel had their way around him and he threw out the case. They then sued me for slander, saying that I said that money passed in this case. They said that Baldeo should pay money for damages because he said that money passed in this case. This is a horrendous verdict. This is a verdict that should not stand up. This is a verdict that was perverse. So they went after me. I was just 22 years old. I took my battles. I eventually won that case, but it taught me that what was said by St. John, the power of evil men, such as the judge and the well-connected lawyers in Guyana. This thing has been going on since 1980-something, corruption of the system there. Lives on in the cowardice of the good. I wasn't a coward. I was brave. Like I said, my life was threatened many times. I continued to prosecute those cases and cases where you have people dying and kicked down the door, bandits, and all these heinous murder. You talk about it. That case made legal history in Guyana. State and Alvin Mitchell. Google that case. The State and Alvin Mitchell. And you will read the very horrible facts, the heinous circumstances that this young woman died. And again, years after, it has happened with Monica Reese. It has happened with Paper Shorts. It has happened with many other people. That must stop. Because if we are going to be a country of advanced Dubai and that kind of standard, our justice system, just like our health system, needs severe upgrading. Or we will continue to be a third world, developing, sad story country where we do not develop ourselves or are considered in the realm of developing countries. And that will be a shame with all of the resources that we have coming into us right now. So this is the problem in a court of law. It's easy to allege, but it's difficult to prove. So my advice to the prosecutors is this. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Anil Nandalal, has his hands full. But if Anil is listening, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Nandalal. He knows me well. He can also make a call to the DPP and said, hey, what are you doing? You need to do your job. I am the Attorney General, but you are the Director of Public Prosecutions by constitutional empowerment. And therefore, you have the evidence. Use your duty to bring justice to this family and to Guyana. It's your time now to go after these folks and to do your job. Get statements, get everything else. Now, let's get to what's going on right now. You have a hotel that is burned down. A lot of the evidence has been destroyed or it's not available. Does that mean the end of the road? No, because prosecutors need to get their evidence. How do you get the evidence? The Director of Public Prosecutions must move to the courts, find a judge who wants to see justice done. Judge, evidence has been destroyed. Witnesses have been compromised. We respectfully ask that you issue court orders that all the folks who were there at that night or that day at this hotel must undergo lie detector tests. They must undergo lie detector tests. They have already lodged their passports. Those who are suspects, those who are persons of interest, that's the term we call in America. If you're a person of interest, then it means that the authorities are focusing on you until you become a suspect, and then they will indict you. Now, they want to have that done and also to have cooperating witnesses. From my understanding, I spoke to a very reputable person with knowledge of the system today. I will not reveal his name because that was a personal conversation. He told me that the hotel owner and his son have given into custody. That's what he said. And that the person who threw the body in the pool is saying that he was told to do that. He was acting on instructions. Well, brothers and sisters, that's a very major development. If that is true, that the owners are saying that we're giving ourselves up, and the person who threw the body in the pool is saying, I acted on the instructions of A, B, and or C, then that's a major development in the case. And it still needs other work to be done. And that is where I support the calls for the FBI, Scotland Yard, and or MI5 to be involved in the investigations, so that then you have these police officers who have a conflict of interest should be able to be disqualified or just form a peripheral decision-making process in terms of prosecuting the perpetrators of this young child, Adrienna Younge's murder. So, having gotten that, then you look for nexus. Nexus is a connection in time in a criminal case where you can prove that these acts were done by A, B, C to Z. They may not be all liable to the same degree. They may not be the one who caused the death, asphyxiation, however this young lady was killed, but they are all equally liable. You do not have to be the person who pulled the trigger. I've had cases where there were lookouts. People who were looking out when other people's homes, like jewelers, were killed in Guyana, like the Chevron family, the Body in the Bush case, the Shallow Grave murder, Jibu's murder in Esquivel Bagdam. All these cases I prosecuted. And from the evidence, you never get an eyewitness. Hardly you get an eyewitness when these heinous acts are done. But as a prosecutor, as a minister of justice, as an officer of the court, and as a public servant charged by the people to do your job, you've got to be fearless. You've got to leave no one stone unturned. You've got to interview people. You've got to take statements. You've got to make recordings. And you've got to be able to build a case brick by brick, step by step. And you just can't rely on forced confessions. That will not hold up, because many times we have seen forced confessions or even voluntary confessions thrown out by judges. You have to understand you may end up before a judge, and I'm not casting aspersions on the judges in Guyana, but I had one in the state on Alvin Mitchell, and he threw the case out. It went to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal slammed him and said, "What a perverse decision you gave. You obviously had some other interest in this case, a vile interest, that you acquitted this man." The problem there is that as long as he was acquitted, the charges could not be brought. The charges could not be brought again. So he walked free and lived a free man, a guilty murderer, Alvin Mitchell, until he died. So, my brothers and sisters, this is not a very easy nor trivial situation. This is a case that has grappled and gripped the entire population of Guyana. I've seen these kinds of vigils and protests all over Guyana, and rightly so. They want justice. They want to see this case done. The powers that be have to ensure that justice in this case is given a priority. I've had conversations with folks who also say that if justice is not done here, a lot of folks will face the consequences politically and otherwise. So the DPP has to step up, get these court orders for the lie detector test to be done, the nexus of causative offense, cooperating witnesses to say what they know and who instructed them and whosoever, and the DNA evidence. Now, DNA evidence is paramount in this case. It's all well and good that we have what is called the forensic scan going on right now at the Baldeo Memorial Hospital, whatever it's called. The full body forensic body scan, the CT scan. But that must not only be done, that must be corroborated and supported by the entire postmortem done forensically. And I'll tell you why. If you were to go to prosecute a case with this with a mere CT scans and the results of that, the defense is going to break up your case. They're going to cut it up. They're going to demolish it. They are going to break it up and say, well, you didn't prove your case. You didn't have forensic tests done here. And that is your problem. You need to have a forensic test done. You need to have a forensic report, a pathologist report that says that death was not due to drowning or accident, but death was due to foul play. Death was due to the actions of A, B, C acting in concert with D, E, F, G, H, right up to Z. Because this was not a one-man show. This was not a one-man plot. This was a plot to kill that young girl consisting of many, many moving parts. many different folks had a hand in the cover-up and the implementation of this plan and the religious purpose of what was done in it. All of these need to be properly investigated. That is the power and the duty of law enforcement and the Director of Public Prosecutions in Guyana. This is a debt of one of her own, and her life must not be done in such a way that it goes to waste. She is a martyr. She is a hero for the justice system. And like I said, since 1984, I've lived with that memory of Nastawanti Prasad, who I stood up so bravely in the courtroom. There was another man who reached out to me just 2 weeks ago. That was another murder in Essequibo. And he told me how much he appreciated what I did and how I stood up there for justice. That was another case where defense counsel had a Essequibo lawyer, and as long as that Essequibo lawyer appears as co-counsel in a case in Essequibo sizes, there's only one verdict that comes out there because he knows all the people, they're all his clients, and they come up with a verdict of not guilty. They came up with a verdict of not guilty, yes. And that was another case that still burns in my memory where justice was not served. So this is not a case to be treated lightly. The contrived disappearance of videos, audios, and eyewitnesses is terrible. Here we have no videos, we have no audios, and no eyewitnesses. So what do we go to? We get the eyewitnesses as if they're cooperating witnesses, and in that way they're telling each other, and then you build a case. Now, the pool, someone said drain the pool. I would not do that. Take the DNA evidence of what is in the pool and bodily fluids, forensic items or fluid or traces that can be gotten there to link the folks. We have to be patient in Guyana. We do not have some of these things. We do not have such advanced but pathological and forensic equipment. So it may have to be sent overseas. This is one area the government of Guyana has got to really go into. We just cannot build just only roads and houses and so forth. That is good. We also have to develop our forensic, our healthcare, our legal systems. They have to be developed. We have to have advanced technology to back up these sorts of issues because they are very important social and economic issues that have to be addressed. Healthcare and forensic and the judiciary and the investigation and prosecution of crimes. Now the pool, you preserve its contents and some samples there. The hotel rooms, wherever you can get evidence from there. And you have to get the DNA of Adrianna. The DNA of Adrianna is very important because in that DNA of Adrianna may be found the DNA that links the culprits to this foul act. The DNA is like a picture. It's like a portrait. It's like a drawing that connects those whose DNA is found on Adrienna Younge's body, fluids, vagina, mouth, fingernails. If she put up a struggle with those people, which it seems that she might have done, and on her knees and so forth in her hair, you would have fingerprint evidence. So go and get that fingerprint evidence immediately before this video goes public, and those folks are able to trim their fingernails. You hear me? Go and get the DNA. Get the DNA samples of those culprits and the suspects and match it for innocence and or guilt for you to say, well, what's going on here? Or this is what we have. A, B, C, or D, or E to G, or to Z, their fingerprints, their bodily fluids, their semen, or whatever was found in the deceased's body. And they had no reason to be that closely aligned with her. These are not the grandmother, the mother, the fathers. You exclude those. But those that show up there, that is a serious piece of evidence. That is evidence that can convict you, the DNA. And that is very reliable evidence. So at the end of the day, as a prosecutor and as a DPP's office in Guyana, you can say, we got the right people. We did our jobs. Justice was served. You understand? Justice was served. I see someone send a comment there that the president's wife is related to the hotel owner. allegedly. Well, if that is so, then, Mr. President, you have to recuse yourself. You have to recuse yourself from this investigation. You're conflicted. Because you will not be able to marshal the troops. You will not be able to give orders to those who are investigating this case. Let it go to a special prosecutor, an independent person. I was once a special prosecutor in Guyana, and I'm not looking for a job. But I'm just telling you, you have to get someone who has criminal law experience and has prosecuted cases to be the chief czar, so to speak, the chief of Adrienna Younge's debt investigation and prosecution. That person must not be related to anyone. He must not be a political hack. He must not have any political ties that can interfere with his professional judgment. He and her must have a serious interest that justice is done. And that is where Shalimar Hack comes in, the Director of Public Prosecution. She must come out and say, I have no ties to any of these people. And I'm doing my job as prosecutor. And no president or prime minister, whosoever, is going to influence me because I am the Director of Public Prosecutions, tasked with a public duty, and I will do my job. If not, then let somebody else do it. Bring in someone. But here again, we're showing that we're always dependent on somebody. As a developing country, we should not be dependent on others to make decisions for us. How are we going to be the Dubai of the world? How are we going to be a developed country? How are we going to command respect when other countries tariff us with 38% tariff and other countries got 10%? And there's always some complaint about the paltry sums or rewards or payments we're getting for our natural resources. So there again, there should be an impartial investigation. Now, this is a very important part. There's cell phones. Cell phones analysis. Cell phones are like DNA we've argued in courts. They carry a footprint. They carry a fingerprint. And that fingerprint is that it connects when the call was made, where the call was made from, and it can also be an eyewitness to show that A, B, C, or D was there. 2, they made a call, and similarly a text may show, well, by the girl dead, where gonna hide the body? What we gonna do with them secret rooms? What are we gonna do right now? This thing blow up big. The girl, people know she was not in the pool. No, she died in the pool. What you want me to do? Or when do we dump this body in the pool? This girl died, or whatever. This ritual didn't work out nice. People see, people hear. These texts are incriminating evidence. They are valid proof of what occurred in this heinous crime. Simple as that. And therefore, texts, photos, audios, emails, messages, locations. Because anytime a cell phone rings, there is a satellite that it connects to. And that satellite gives you the GPS, so to speak, your location where you made that call. If you made that call from a Doubleday hotel and who you called and who called back who, if manager spoke to the owner, if police speak to this, if commander speak to this, whosoever speak to who, at what time, where, and so on. So in the event that you say, oh no, we can destroy evidence, we can walk free, that is not so, as long as you do what I'm telling you to do, Mrs. Director of Public Prosecutions. Get the DNAs, like I said, get the cell phones, send them for analysis, get the texts, photos, audios, emails, and messages that abide in those cell phones. Preserve them and use them in a court of law. And try to get court orders from the judges for these and other items, because the Constitution of Guyana may block you, but at the same time, you need to go to court. You need to put on those robes. You need to go to the judge, the Supreme Court judges, the Director of Public Prosecutions, as we did when I was a prosecutor there. Never afraid to go to court. Always a challenge. Always loved it. I was just 22 years old at that time. And if I can do that at 22, and then I'm sure that others, clothed with the duty and the privileges of a prosecutor in good faith, must also do their jobs. You would find a judge who would say, because of the fact that the evidence has been destroyed, I will order the confiscation of cell phones and the analysis of them to be sent overseas or otherwise. Or I will order that the DNA evidence be taken to these individuals. Or I will order that their passports be confiscated and they not be able to leave the country until the investigation is complete. These are orders that have been made, secured, and gotten by us as young, unconnected prosecutors against the best defense counsel, because we went to court and we fought for them and we got them. So there's no reason that a director of public prosecutions or a state prosecutor, and state prosecutors have to say, cannot go to a Supreme Court judge and say, Judge, we need these orders. We need these orders in the interest of justice. Other evidence has been destroyed and or is not available. And therefore, we ask that you grant these orders immediately. Judges were their salt, bearing in mind the public image and the public grasp that this case has taken, must assist as judges in the administration of justice in Guyana and in the successful and competent investigation and prosecution in good faith for such a case. Like I said, some have said here, Razi, Hussein, and so on. I thank you for your comments. I will willingly do the case for free. I've been practicing law in Guyana since 1982 as the youngest state prosecutor, state counsel, and lawyer admitted in Guyana's history. And I was the youngest and fastest appointed in all the cases. Murders, manslaughters, fraud, whatever you name it. Robbery, kick down the door bandits, I did them all. And I had a 95% conviction rate. Those who got off were due to the judges interfering with the legal system. And I left because I was fed up. I left because I had lost a child in Guyana, not due to these horrible circumstances, but because of poor healthcare system. These are not things I talk about, but it's time that you come out and talk about some of these things that Guyana lacks. So when we're going to talk about we being a developing country and we doing this and we doing that, if you cannot solve things like this, administration, then you've got a problem. People are already talking about removing folks from these offices and for government. And I'm just sounding a warning that you need to step up. I'm not saying that you have failed, but this is a test. This is a challenge you must meet. Trust me, I'm always on the street. People call me all the time. I listen to folks in Guyana, I listen to folks out here. I'm not bluffing you. I'm not telling you something to scare you. I'm telling you the facts that I've seen unfolding in this case, that if the government as a whole, rightly or wrongly, does not solve and bring a successful prosecution and investigation of this case that leads to life imprisonment, I think hanging is no longer in Guyana. The last case I did, there was, Donald Alder. I don't want to go into my details because that is not a topic that can easily take this conversation to another direction. But they must pay the highest penalty on the law. Let's put it that way. They must pay the highest penalty on the law for the murder, disappearance, kidnapping, brutalization, and perverse exploitation and demise of Adrienna Younge's death. There is no ifs and buts here. There is no way that this can be covered under the rug. For all Guyanese, not only the sitting government, these things happened with other governments in office too. So don't think anybody is blaming anyone here. The system, the legal system needs to get itself straight. You had other deaths. I mentioned them. They told me about Monica Reese. Then you got Paper Shorts. And these other folks. They have been throughout the years. Stemming to Dolly Bashk, Sammy Bashka's sister, who died. I don't think anybody was ever brought to justice for those heinous crimes. No. And then I had my own experience with Alvin Mitchell. And with also the case in Esquibo which I don't recall right now, but hopefully in my memoirs I will write about all these cases. I have them in a notebook that I kept in court in Guyana since 1982, because these were cases that made the headlines. These are cases that made the news. These are cases that are part and parts of Guyana's judicial history and the Commonwealth. The state and Alvin Mitchell's recorded in the West Indian law reports. Read that case, the beautiful judgment of Justice Messiah. Justice Messiah actually told a judge in legal finesse language that you took a bribe and you made a perverse decision in acquitting Alvin Mitchell. Read it. Him and Justice Vera. He said it. But he said it eloquently. As a fellow Queen's College scholar, you won't tell a man you took a bribe. You don't talk that way in legalese. You tell him rather that the decision you arrived at was perverse, or it was illogical, or it will not stand up to scrutiny. And you leave him there for him to figure out what you're telling him. That is how those situations are. Because next thing you know, they want to sue you for slander, they want to sue you for defamation, everybody want to sue somebody, when justice should be the main focus. Simple as that. No stone must be left unturned. You see, in these criminal cases, I'll tell you, first of all, you got a jury that could be suspect. 2, just one juror has to be bribed, or one juror can say not guilty. You know what happens then? The person walks. Because the verdict of a jury in a Supreme Court case in Demerara sizes as this case will be tried unless it's transferred to another venue like Berbice, because of the prejudice that the defense counsel may argue, the prejudice that will be invigorated and that will be aroused in such a case. It's terrible. And therefore, one juror may be afraid, may be threatened, may be bribed. And if that one person holds out and says not guilty, then the accused in this case will walk. And you can't bring the charges again. It's called double jeopardy. Double jeopardy prevents you from bringing a case after you've had a successful conclusion, guilty or not guilty. So if these accused walk in Adrienna Younge's case, they cannot be tried again. They cannot be tried for a lesser offense because a lesser is part of the whole. So it's goodbye, baby. That's the end of your case. Autrefois or double jeopardy, collateral estoppel, those principles of law, those fine arguments will prevent you, the government, from bringing charges. One juror who says, I can't convict these people. I have severe doubts. He or she or them is not guilty. We ain't got enough evidence. What happened to the DNA? What happened to the cooperating witnesses? What happened to the lie detector tests? What happened to this? What happened to the photos? You don't show me no photos. I may see the girl with her knees bruised and her hands and so on. Sure. Some are so crazy, they will even say, you know what, suppose they've invoked the devil and the devil killed she. Then you got to indict the devil. I found stupid people like these in my time as a prosecutor and as a defense counsel, both here and in Guyana, who come up with these nonsensical theories looking for a way out because of what may have transpired in the case. So when you come in as a prosecutor, you need to come good. You need to bring all the evidence. No stone. You got to bring 100 witnesses. Put them all in the witness stand. There's no shortcut here. You have to make sure that jury that you pick is not biased. And you got to screen them. You got to have a body. You have to go through them and see if they know or who to connect it to or whatever. What were their misconceptions or perceived notions or beliefs of this case as to what happened. And if they have a biased or a subjective opinion, you got to take them off the jury. They can't sit. They have a conflict of interest. They will not make uncontrovertible and unbiased jurors. And that is a major flaw right there that goes to the fundamental status and integrity and credibility of this case. And that no prosecutor, no government can allow to happen. So I'm saying to the Director of Public Prosecutions, go and get these court orders. Lie detector tests, nexus of causative events, timelines, cooperating witnesses, DNA evidence, all of these things, the water in the pool, the body on the evidence of DNA on the fingernail of Adrienna Younge, her hair, her mouth, her personal parts. It sounds tough, but this is not time for sympathy here. This is not a time for, oh, we are religious, we can't do that. This is time to ensure that you can get the evidence, that you can present and find out who did this. And don't just depend on, oh, the owner confess and the manager confess and this policeman said, or this body said, he see him when he throw him in the pool, when he throw the girl in the pool, or he hear somebody here say, that's difficult to get in court of law. Me hear he say, man, me kill the girl, or this body kill the girl. That's not enough. You need scientific, pathological, forensic evidence that refutes all evidence of innocence. Simple. Any and all evidence of innocence must be refuted and established prior to this case going to court. Don't take a flimsy case to court. Don't take it. Build it. You need to build it now because evidence has already started disappearing. Evidence has already started to be tampered with. Evidence has already been burnt. There are motives here. Use that to show there's a motive in those that destroy. Not everyone who writed, I'm saying, is part of this, but there must be some folks, employees of the hotel or aiders and abettors of this crime to go there and get the evidence. Look into what's happening. Go into those secret rooms. Get a scanner to see if there are other dead bodies in that hotel. There's equipment that Guyana needs to get. That is very cheap over here, that prosecutors use, the FBI and MI5 and Scotland Yard. And their imaging photography that can image that entire hotel and tell you if there are bodies buried under the pool, bodies in those secret rooms, bodies in torture rooms, bodies in whatever where it is, and whatever filthy, whatever lucre, whatever contraband. Contraband is a term. Money laundering and money and all these things and coins and gold can be imaged and it can be retrieved by law enforcement. And from that, they can then bring their cases. That is how justice is served. That is how things are done. And yes, Razi, you're right. Even the grandmother, I would interview her, find out what she saw, what she did there, and when she went to the hotel, perhaps whatever she was doing. But the fact of the matter is that the grandmother can give vital evidence. If it comes out that the grandmother or whosoever is involved in this conspiracy and in this vile act and in this heinous crime, then she must also pay the price. I'm not saying that the grandmother is guilty. I was just responding to my friend there, Razius, asking the question about the grandmother. No stone must be left unturned. Brick by brick. Grandmother, why did you go to this hotel? Where were you in this hotel? Show me the room. And let's be honest, what were you doing in this hotel? And what happened to your granddaughter? Find out, did you look through the window? Did you see her in the pool? Did you follow her, inquire where she was? Did you have anything to do in the cover-up or in anything else? I'm not saying the grandmother is guilty. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying if you have leads, whether however close they are to the deceased, and like the owners and the managers and the and even family members have to be interviewed. If they have nothing to fear, then submit an interview. Submit a lie detector test. Submit the forensic analysis that can bring this case to an end. Or when I say an end, the prosecution and imprisonment. That's what I'm talking about. End. Justice. Where justice is served. I'm not talking about anything else. Because someone has to pay for that child. I don't believe she died by drowning. I do not believe she died by accident. I do not believe that she committed suicide. No. My humble opinion as a prosecutor that did a lot of work in the judicial system in Guyana prior to migrating to the United States is that she was killed. She was murdered. And the marks on her knees and her arms need to be accounted for. Because here's the thing. If Adrienna Younge was killed in the pursuit of a felony, then the felony murder and it results in murder, then the felony murder rule applies. If the person who took Adrienna Younge and only wounded her or harassed her or caused her grievous bodily harm and had no intention to kill her, then the felony murder rule kicks in. And that is where I was able to get a lot of convictions of these criminals. You know why it is? Because in the pursuit and furtherance of a felony, death occurs. Then it's the same murder. And that is what prosecutors have to understand. Oh, I couldn't prove who pulled the trigger. I couldn't prove who asphyxiated her. I can't prove who killed her. I don't have the photographs. I don't have the videos. Rubbish. What you need to show is that this person was last seen in Adrienna Younge. During our interaction with her, whether during a ritual or during a robbery or a sexual act, whatever that felony was, she died. Or when we throw her in the pool, that is when she died. It is murder. Look the jury straight in the eyes and tell them that is murder, Guyana prosecutors. There's no other way of defining this. And explain to them, if in the act of a felony such as assault, grievous bodily harm, rape, ritual force, or whatever force was used on Adrienna Younge, the fact that she died within the time frame and expired is murder. Murder and nothing less. It's not manslaughter. It's murder. That's the felony murder rule. And that is how prosecutors need to analyze this case and to pursue this case. And you know, the owner of the hotel and the employees, as you said, Yasmin, yes, they have to be thoroughly interrogated and interviewed. Because they have to explain how in their domain you have a body that was never in the pool suddenly surfaces in the pool on your property and in your presence. Bodies don't just float up like that. Bodies don't just appear from nowhere. Dead human bodies do not drop from the sky. I've had cases like that, Alvin Mitchell. I told you Mitchell threw the woman from a moving vehicle. That's what he did. But he made up an excuse there because she was asphyxiated. Young woman, waitress in Bartica. He killed that woman. Whether it was an act of passion or whatever it was, like I said, the felony murder rule, it's murder. And that is what Mitchell got away from by a corrupt judge and a corrupt jury. And nobody can tell me that corruption is not a part of the judicial system in Guyana. Unfortunately, you know, there's some great lawyers who made the Guinness Book of World Records. And as a young prosecutor, I was told that they always had a client on the jury. And that client will sway the jury, work on them, attrition, break them down. Deliberations after deliberations, hole out after hole out, till there comes a time when they say, you know what? I got to go home now. I got to go and see my children's welfare, their education, and so on. I'm done with this. And if you say not guilty, then let me tell the judge that we got a split verdict here. It must be unanimous. It cannot be split. One person holding out on a 12-person jury, as there will be, is enough for these perpetrators to walk. They will not be convicted. It's called a hung jury. It's called a jury that is undecided. And that's a big problem, especially in light of the evidence that has already been lost in this case. That is why the DPP need to take control of this case. He or she needs to take full control of this case without fear or favor, fright or fantasy. Investigate it. Police work under the instructions of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I've had policemen come and give me some hocus pocus theory of the case, and I said, go back and take evidence here. I need to interview this person. I need to interview your witnesses. Because I'm not signing off on an indictment. One of them brought an indictment to me to sign off to take a man's vehicle for carrying rice. Believe in that. Transporting rice where the penalty is jail and forfeiture of his vehicle. And I told him I couldn't do that. Rice is not contraband. I couldn't do that for dal and sardines. I could not prosecute people for those things. And flour. It was a big fact. They sent it to other prosecutors, but at the same time, they should have heard my advice. Do not prosecute people for these crimes. These are not crimes. Flour, sardine, rice, and so on. That you're transporting them, you're transporting illegal contraband. Food? Come on. So you guys need to have a backbone in Guyana. You need to confront injustice. You need to confront and be brave enough. You need to stand up and fight. My whole life has been a fight. From Guyana, in the courtrooms, I was sued there for slander, saying that money passed in this case. The case was dismissed against me. Cost me a lot of time and energy, but it shows you how vicious the system can be. Came here, same thing. Ran for office, they're always going to find something to pin on you to destroy you. But you have to continue to get that spirit and elevation from God that you have done nothing wrong. That presidents and mayors and other folks have done real crimes and nobody went after them. Nobody. But because you are a maverick and because you're an insurgent and because you're not part of the status quo, they will throw everything on you. But you rise. Recently we celebrated Easter, the resurrection. That must tell you, and in all religions, you have Eid and you had Navratri and all these, and you had the Passover. They all talk about the rise over evil, the continuous rise of mankind to a higher place. This is a time of season of renewal and refreshment. This is where you grow strong and you appreciate those who have stood the fight for you and never been afraid to stand up and fight for you, whether they went to jail or not. These are your heroes and champions. Those are the people who never give up for your interest, and you must respect that. And you must follow what they tell you to go out and vote and become citizens. Because right now the real ID is kicking in. And you're going to say, oh, you know, Baldeo, when I always tell me if I go vote by, he tell me I'm going to do my citizenship. You know, that's $700 I got to pay. That's $700 I got to pay. That was stopping because me take $700 I got this world by for see a place. But you have done yourself and your family a great disservice because you don't have a real ID. So when you go and call Albert Baldeo, well, what me going to do? I got a real ID. And I been got get them because I feel it was important. Well, go and get it now. It may not even cost you $50 if at all. Go into the DMV and ask them to get it. If they say no, well, then you have to find, then you can travel by car or bus. Hopefully that ICE don't jump into the bus now and start arrest people. That is where we fail in failing to take proper advice and always feeling, oh, you know what? I have to hear this from another person, not from my own. I have to hear this from somebody else who doesn't give anything about you, who doesn't care a squeak about you and your welfare, who in their eyes consider you second-class citizens, who in their eyes will never consider you to be equal with them, who will always look down upon you as a second-class citizen. So those out there who always feel there's another person, another race or whatever can do a better job of representing them, then go behind them and ask them for your real ID. Don't come to us who've been preaching and telling you and reminding you like if they come and ask you for a plate of food, oh man, go and get your real ID. Oh, you need this. Oh, you need that. You know? It's time for you to have a conscience. Time for you to rise above ignorance. And time for you to implement what we've been preaching to you all along. We don't need to do this. I'm a district leader elected by the people. That's why I do this. But I don't get paid for this. I do this all for free. You know why? Because I do it for you. I do it for those who are interested in elevating themselves and becoming somebody in America and reaching to the higher echelons of society and stop being babysitters, security guards, janitors, sweep cleaners, toilet cleaners, cooks, restaurant cleaners, and so forth, waitresses. I do it so that you and succeeding generations can become doctors, lawyers, engineers, and teachers like my family. You must have that vision. You must have that hope. You must have that pride. You must have the kinna that you can do better. A lot of us lack that. Kinna. Find out, ask the old folks from Guyana what kinna means. Kinna means the heart and soul that drives someone to be better than they are. You don't need karma to teach you a lesson that you did somebody wrong and we should have followed what Baldeo said. I've been really ungrateful. I've been real nima karam. What you need to have is kinna for your own self. Okay, it's not going to benefit me. It's not going to benefit Albert Baldeo or any of his professional brothers. It's going to benefit you. And you will be able to live the American dream. Don't expect me to spend the rest of my life. I've already given you 30 years of the best years of my life in trying to empower this community in Richmond Hill. This community in Richmond Hill feels it has arrived and it has gotten everything and it don't need nobody else. Everybody's a doctor, lawyer, engineer, teacher, and priest out there, and pandit, and meiji. Everybody. And everybody know everything. That is wrong. There's always room for improvement. Always be humble. I've researched this case in and out before I came in and called upon the government of Guyana, the Director of Public Prosecutions, and I also call on everyone in Guyana for peace. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't blame the wrong forces. You have to look at police, the Director of Public Prosecutions, and also law enforcement. And also the government must not hinder or obstruct and/or influence and/or condone any nonsensical developments in this investigation. And I think this investigation will be the yardstick by which we are judged. Let me repeat that. This investigation and how Adrienna Younge died will be the yardstick. It will be the standard by which we are measured in Guyana. Believe it or not. Because here in Little Guyana in Richmond Hill, it's all over the place. Everybody's asking about this case. Everybody's asking about Kumar Naraine too. When are we going to find that young pandit? When are he going to come forward? Who knows about this man? Who's harboring him? Who's keeping him? And not telling the parents that they have him and he's safe. Just to call your mom and said, Mom, I'm safe, but I'm upset. And, I need some time to cool out, to chill out. But at least let your mother and your father know that you're alive. These folks did a lot for you. You're 50 now. At least have a heart for them. If you need help, call me. 718-529-2300. All calls will be taken confidentially. And I will do whatever I can to help you. But I can assure you, it will be a fair and happy outcome. With no punishments involved. But that everybody is able to resume their lives in a very meaningful way. And not as we see happening with Adrianna Younge. Sometimes when you wait, it could be too late. And the hours that passed when that body could not be found, that is the problem. That is the problem right there. That Adrianna Younge's life, young life, could not have been saved. And I see another thing that they should not destroy innocent people's homes as well. Yes, this is not talk season. This is not an excuse for politics. This is not the time nor the place to wash your dirty linen. As I said, someone once told Dr. Walter Rodney, go and wash your linen. Oh, Rex McKay, very prominent lawyer, he recently died. I was in court when the politics came into the case. And I think it was Do Not Sing who made a statement in a case there with Rabbi Washington. And he was making remarks about the case. Some were prejudicial. And Rex McKay said, hey, not here. Go and wash your dirty linen, your dirty political linen in some mall, in Border Mall. Go and wash your dirty political linen in Border Mall. This or Main Street Mall. This is not the place for it. And I want to say that to you out there. Those who are trying to create opportunities to loot. Those who are creating opportunities for political mileage. Those who are creating opportunities to be heroes and martyrs in their mind and champions of the people. You're not. Those who are out there to set strife and burn and break and loot and steal, forget about it. That is not the way things are done in Guyana, or should be done. If you have evidence, give it to the prosecution. And this is where the prosecution must have a body, an independent, respected body, where evidence is given to. Because a lot of these have been tarnished. You have from the commissioner of police to High Ken to the commander there being tarnished. So they cannot act as a receiver of evidence. You have to have an independent forum, someone who is appointed by the president and or parliament to be in an independent body, like 3 people, 3 retired judges. Like how we had a commission of inquiry into the stolen elections, which, by the way, is another incident that makes us look very bad in the eyes of the world. The fact that we can't bring people who try to steal in elections with spreadsheets and bed sheets and filthy stuff is a shame on our legal system. Let us say it out front. And there are folks who from other political angles will see it for the shame that it is. Bring that trial to an end. Let us see and let them pay the penalty. Don't keep pushing the can down the road. Don't keep kicking the case down the road. Don't keep changing things. Get the case done. Justice must be served. Justice delayed is justice denied. And therefore, in this case also, there must be a 3-man inquiry that is open to the public, where you can go in anonymously. All rights and privacy protected. And you can divulge information on what you know, what you saw, what you hear, and give evidence in this case. Evidence that people can trust, that will be kept confidential until the appropriate time that an indictment can be brought and a prosecution can be taken. That is where I see lacking. You know why? People have been saying they don't trust the police. The relatives are saying this, and we have to respect what they're saying. In the context of how the police failed them, that is a reasonable request. All the requests must be met with the president that Mr. Darren Wade has asked for. A fellow lawyer from Guyana, young as he may be. All of that must be honored. Because the police have put themselves as the fulcrum and the focus of malfeasance in this case. The lies, the girl going, the Adrienna Younge being taken in a vehicle, and all these things. As a matter of fact, this also, here's another point, is incriminating evidence against them. This is incriminating evidence against the commander and his troops and the police force there. That they invented a lie. Was that lie done for a cover-up? Was that lie done to further the interests of the perpetrators? Was that lie done to avoid suspicion falling upon them? Suspicion falling upon them. And granting them time to complete the ritual or whatever it was, or the perverse acts, or the criminal acts that resulted in Adrianna Younge's death. Was it done to buy time to ensure that Adrianna Younge was killed and murdered? That is the question. If they are complicit in that, then they must be indicted and charged also. And they cannot be the receiver of evidence in a conflict of interest situation where they are the investigators and they are also criminally liable and criminally culpable in this case. They cannot sit in judgment of themselves. They must be recused. So I think the president should think of a 3-man commission immediately, perhaps involving a priest, a retired judge or judges, those who are not biased by any political persuasion, and those who want to see that justice is done for Adrianna Younge and her family, and the Guyanese folks and Americans and whosoever, everyone who's concerned with this case. That has garnered international attention. And that commission must be open to present evidence. Privately, confidentially. Like how grand juries operate in the United States. In the United States, when a grand jury is convened, it is done in secret. The suspect and no one else knows what's going on. It's going on in a secret location in that jurisdiction. And it consists of 23 people, 12 to 23 people, citizens, peers, who are going to analyze the evidence. The only problem I find with a grand jury is they can indict a ham sandwich. They don't look for proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But it can be done like indicting a ham sandwich, as a famous Chief Justice, Sal Wackler, once said. And they must reach a position of being sure before you indict somebody. I caution you not to just pick up Tom, Dick, and Harry and say, oh, we got the criminals here. These are the murderers. Or somebody who threw the person in the pool and not asking him, well, who instructed him to throw the body in the pool? And then Raji is saying that this ritual BS they are using is not true. Well, that must be investigated. But murder is murder. Spiritual ritual or otherwise. If it was during the furtherance of a sex act, a robbery, an invasion of privacy, an assault, a sexual assault, whatever it may be, it comes under the felony murder rule. To attempt to rape someone under the age of 16, I'm not saying this is what happened, I'm just showing you how the law works. Anyone who tries to rape a person who is presumed is called statutory rape. Mike Tyson was charged with that, the great boxer Mike Tyson. He slept with a young woman who was under the age of 16. And he paid a hefty price, whether that person consented or not, and many other cases. Jeff Epstein, American case that caused headlines. As long as you sleep, have consensual sexual intercourse or otherwise or by force, or perverted sex acts, with someone under the age of 16, it is statutory rape, whether they consented or not. It's that simple. It's just like the felony murder rule. If someone dies in the furtherance and or commission of a felony, that death results as a result of those acts, then it is murder. Guyana law, Commonwealth law, United States law, that is a common law. That is how the law, in its wisdom, set the guidelines. We don't care to see that you pull the trigger. We don't care to see that. Because many times you can, but you by logical conclusion and by parity of reasoning, you can arrive at the right conclusion. And that is what I call upon. In the meantime, I ask for restraint. I ask for folks in Guyana not to get overwhelmed. This is about justice. This is about doing the right things. This is about getting the evidence. If someone tells you to know about this crime, let them speak to the right people who must be dependent and properly constituted by the government, the Director of Public Prosecutions, as far as I can see, is not disqualifiable in a case like this. What she must do, however, she and her chambers, is to step up and step up fast. Right now, you need to draft up applications to the judges to get DNA evidence, to get statements, to get lie detector tests, to get cooperating witnesses, to get all the evidence you can to investigate this case. Because the evidence is being destroyed, people are running, people are migrating, people are washing their hands of this crime, people are hiding because of the consequences, people are fabricating, people are burning, people are looting, and all these sorts of things. The worst of Guyana is playing out right now. The very lowest class that can be observed in Guyanese actions is being perpetrated right now. Because the good, the bad, and the ugly are involved. Some for their own selfish reasons not connected to this case. I am not saying there's not a legitimate concern here. What I am saying is that many other criminals will jump on this bandwagon as a smokescreen to attack people politically, to get political mileage of what is a human tragedy, and also as a cover to loot and steal, burn, and run away with a toilet. And, we saw those horrible pictures. People running with a used toilet, running down the road. This country is supposed to be talked about in Dubai terms. You got people running with a mattress that was slept in by all sorts of short-time folks. Probably over 500 instances of people, short-timers in that hotel, using those mattresses that are going to have bed bugs and this and that and all sorts of vicious and remnants and contraband and things that can make you sick. Running with a mattress to go and sleep on it. Running with a toilet bowl. Running with chairs. Our Guyanese, my brothers and sisters, we are better than that. My brothers and sisters, we are better than that. We need to do better. We should not be setting an example to our kids of looting and stealing and exploiting this situation for criminal gain, for political gain, and to become heroes and martyrs, when much more is required of us. Much more, such as giving evidence to the police and giving evidence to the DPP. If you don't trust the police, then the DPP already has a constitutional and public duty, madam, to go out there and take over the investigation. You have a constitutional and public duty to go out there as a sole repository of constitutional law, empowers you as the sole and chief criminal law enforcement of Guyana to provide a level playing field to gather evidence. Someone send this video to the DPP. And it's coming from someone who worked in that office many years before you as a senior state counsel, special prosecutor, and police legal advisor, who had a 97-95% conviction rate. One who's been through the battles, the battlefields of prosecution with the best lawyers in Guyana and defeated them all with their crazy theories as this, kick down the door bandits, fraud folks, robbery folks, rape folks. All these people were sent to jail. And I had no hesitation prosecuting them. And I have no hesitation prosecuting them again. So if you need help, call me. If you need help in prosecuting the case as an independent prosecutor and one who doesn't know any of these people or any people in the Guyana police force and who's left Guyana for a long time, and you can expect to be independent but fierce and fair, then call Albert Baldeo. I'm the honorable district leader here, elected by the people in Richmond Hill. I will not be going to Guyana to do a case just for idle fame. I'll be doing to ensure that justice is done to Adrienna Younge. And I've done these cases before. And trust me, I came up against the best. Bernardo Santos, Do Not Sing, All Senior Counsel Rex McKay, Stanley Hardiel, B.O. Adams, Stanley Moore. Some of them I don't remember. Cumberbatch. Lots of folks. Brilliant lawyers. Jaina Ryan Singh Jr. My friends, but I did my job. When I went to a courtroom, all holes were barred. It was me and the jury and the case. I did not compromise easily or at all, unless you wanted to plead guilty. I remember the great Salina Luck who walked over to me on my first case and offered me a plea on a murder to manslaughter. He had this record in the Guinness book. He didn't want it tarnished. He wanted to break down the charge of manslaughter. And he can do that. You can plead guilty to a less offense if the facts are not those heinous. A prosecutor should reject, however, in this case, a plea to manslaughter. You hear me? A prosecutor in Adrianna Younge's death must reject from the beginning, ab initio, any offer of a plea to plead guilty to grievous bodily harm or manslaughter or any lesser charges other than murder. Murder or nothing. Go to trial. You win or you lose. Murder or nothing. No compromises. Not in this. Just like they Shallow grave case we did with Larry Haynes, my friend who lives in Jamaica, a fellow lawyer. Ian Chang, George Jackman, great prosecutors. I did a lot of these cases, some on my own and very few with them. But we grew up in the courtroom. We swam with the sharks. We swam with sharks. We came out okay. Beat all of them from one side. Prosecutors don't win or lose cases, but justice was served. Come to America, you got these young prosecutors running, oh, I win this, I win that. There's nothing like that in prosecution. You do where justice guides you, where the facts and the law guide you, and you serve justice. You're an independent person, bereft of any connection to emotions in the case. Wherever the facts and the law lead, that's where you go. So basically, it comes to this. The power of evil men lives on in the cowardice of the good. Evil men must not triumph in this heinous and perverse and puerile murder of Adrienna Younge. Justice must be served. But at the same time, the country must be preserved, the economy must go on. The president has other duties to attend to. Please remain that he went twice there. I'm not holding a brief for the president. But he should then delegate this body, investigative body, not totally under the control of the Guyana police force, but have the evidence come in to the special prosecutor's office, bring the evidence in, keep the evidence confidential, hold a grand jury, so to speak. And then, if the facts and the law lead to prosecutions as it should in this case, you have to prosecute, investigate and prosecute without fear or favor. That is what we hope in this case. Kumar Naraine, I hope you contact your parents. And don't think that you can go to court in a case like this with just confessions. Confessions will not do it. Confessions, by their very nature, the lawyers will say this was done under duress, not voluntarily. They'll throw them. So you got to get independent evidence, and you got to get it done ASAP. And then, like Rocco said, Rishidio, overhaul the police force. Yes. Clear out and clean out the dead wood. The wood that is dirty. Remove them from this case. You need a full overhaul. You need professional people. You need scrutiny. And we're getting a lot of bad reports coming from the United States, who are supposed to be our partners in crime. They're sending bad reports about Guyana. We can't withstand that. Guyana, as a country, cannot withstand such scrutiny and such criticisms for long. We will be tarnished. And we will be held non-bona fide. So that is where we go with this. And we need to go there fast. And we need to bring this into a country of development, progress, and harmony. We just can't build a road where the Department of State, Marco Rubio, is going to leave America and go there and say they get concussions, or you almost get concussions. When they give out these contracts, give it to prominent people who can be answerable. Hold them accountable to law, the contract. Let them do a proper word. Yes, Shakra Manraj, Lloyd Laku, Salina Laku. Raza Hussein, you're well informed. These are the folks who led the bar in Guyana. And these are the folks who defended the worst folks, the criminals and so on. They were doing their job. They have a right, a constitutional right to representation. But boy, did I have a field day with them. Oh my goodness. I really did. I'm very proud of what I did in Guyana. My life was shot at twice. My car was run off the road. Thank God I'm still alive. I withstood that and proudly did that. But when I hear about Dali Bashk, Monica Reese, Paper Shorts, and all these unsolved crimes, Guyana needs to have its own TV series, Unsolved Crimes. America has a series called Unsolved Crimes. But in Guyana, going way back to the Okinanan, I don't know how many of you remember the Okinanan. I think it was 1965. He killed his other boat people and dumped them overboard, and they said it was out of Guyana's jurisdiction because it was done in the high seas. and that case went topsy-turvy. I think eventually lost to the Privy Council. But what I'm saying, in Guyana's judicial history, there are many scatterings of cases that are too much and are accumulating, where justice was not served, where justice was not even attempted to be done, where time was relied upon to sweep them under the rug. And the time has come. If we are going to be a competitive nation, if we are going to be a nation that demands and commands the respect of the world, this bribery and corruption has to go. Bribery and corruption has to go. You are there as servants of the people. Guyana has no kings and queens. Look at America. Even the president can go to jail. The justice is there for all, good or bad, wrong or right. That'll be the topic of another show, because I've had my interactions with injustice also. But at the same time, Guyana needs to show the world that it can handle its own. It can be dependent. It can be sovereign. You got to get, when we call upon the FBI and we call upon this and that, you got to remember that there are things that come with that. There are going to be strings attached. We have to have our own system. We have to have our own above board, bona fide criminal justice system that can do lie detector tests, that can do DNA evidence, that can do forensic evidence, that can bring out all of these things like cell phone testing and cell phone pinging, where calls were made, and how things can be done. Imaging, thermal imaging, different imaging. So you could see you could see bodies where they were buried in a building. You could see bodies in the forest. I had a pilot who flew into a day after he flew me in as a magistrate to Anai, George Granzold, a legend, George Granzold, an a Caucasian, a white man, distinguished pilot, bush pilot. He could fly a bicycle in the air. He fell out of the sky, couldn't find his body up to now, with a young person named Emil Khan, a co-pilot. I was lucky. I could have been dead going down into those jungles of Guyana, right over Anai. Plane cut out with me. Barely made it over the mountains to drop me into Ogle Airport. I would have died. I had a young child. My child who died from Guyana's medical problems was just 6 months at that time. I had to go into the interior to hold court as a magistrate. I did my job, not knowing that part of my job was to look death in the eye. Look death in the eye. And I thank God that I survived. But I'm just showing you how we try to settle for second class when we can be first class. But all that oil money and all those things we talk about, comparing ourselves to Dubai and stuff like that, we need to put our shoulders to the wheel. Those of you who are making very good money on these deals and these contracts, you need to step up. You need to help build Guyana. You need to put systems in place. You need to give back. You need to be grateful to the country that gives stuff to you. You need to be like what I'm doing here and call for change, call for reform, not spite and witch hunts. That's not what builds a country. Take objective criticism. Every day we are criticized and we take with it. We take it like men and we try to do better. And that's the American way. And that must be the Guyanese way. You must truly be copycats at that stage. Not only look at American TV and American clothes and American cars and so forth. Copy the right things also. Be copycats of a culture. There's bad here in America too. Don't copy that. There's much bad. 50-50. There's good and bad here. I'm not asking you to copy the bad. The drugs, the juvenile delinquencies, the hit and runs, the drink, all this stuff is going on. I'm not asking you to copy that. I'm copying you to do good things. So you got to do the water in the pool, the DNA, the court orders, and I expect that we'll be hearing from the Director of Public Prosecutions taking over the case, as she always has authority to do, since the cops have been compromised, and it's come out very clearly. Of course, there's always the option of resigning if you feel the burden is too heavy on your shoulders. That job is equivalent to that of a senior counsel. And have someone, or constitute an independent body of distinguished lawyers in Guyana and priests to receive the evidence, and you review it. If you feel you can't be objective, if you feel you cannot be hands-on, if you feel you cannot rise to the occasion, then resign. Resign. Let somebody else do it. We're not born with any kinds of positions here. We have to fight and work hard for them. And that is why I know about fight, I know about hard work. I was elected, not selected. You have to run for office. You have to be elected by the people of this country. You have to get their authorization. You also have to get their endorsement. You have to have their support. And that's what I did. And it was not easy because I couldn't say, you know what, I was a PPP. My father was a PPP stronghold. My uncle was a PNC member. I'm Cherry Jagan, God's son. And Jared Jagan, God's son, or this or whatever. I had none of those. None. Came off of my own. And that was it. I had no connections. From the time I started Queen's College to my rise to the University of the West Indies, after I turned on Oxford as a Guyana scholar, Oxford University, Cambridge Universities, could have gotten in there and read law, but I wanted to do law to serve my folks in Guyana and in the Commonwealth, and to make law, which I eventually did as a prosecutor, as a magistrate. And so it goes. Until next time, let's keep the faith. Let's do what we have to do. There are people out there crying. There are people out there paining. Their families being suffering. You who are tasked with bringing justice, investigation, and successful prosecution of this case. To Adrienna Younge and her family, I give you my deepest sympathy. I feel your pain. I mourn with you. And that's why I've spent the time on this here, talking about this. That it hurts me too, because all of us have children. All of us have gone through where the justice system failed us. Your tears are our tears. Your cries are our cries. We've also had heavy burdens to carry. And we've carried them. And it's difficult for you. Like I said, I lost a child when at 18 months old in Guyana. 1986. Came to the United States because of poor health care. This case reminds me of cases I prosecuted in court with such vigor, with such conviction, with such conscience, that up to today, people tell me that was the best prosecutor Guyana's ever produced. And hey, and so the story goes. I want to see justice for Adrianna Younge. Thank you very much. I'll be back again very soon as developments unfold. I understand the managers of the hotel have turned themselves in. I don't know if they have admitted culpability or to what extent. I also understand that one of the cops there have said that he was instructed to throw the body in the pool. That is my star witness. I will start from him. This is how prosecutors get cooperating witnesses, to get the facts and the evidence of what transpired on that fateful day at the Doubletree Inn, at the Locust & Co., the crime scene, the Locust & Co. The director of public prosecutions need to visit that scene. I always did that when I was a prosecutor. Get a basic understanding of the Locust & Co. This is the scene. This is what I'm dealing with. These are my witnesses. Witness A, B, C, D, E, F. This is how I tie up this case beyond a reasonable doubt. This is how I present it to the jury. This is going to be my opening statement. This is going to be my cross-examination. This is how I'm going to bring the confessions in, if any. This is how I'm going to have extra judicial evidence. This is how I'm going to bring in corroborative evidence apart from confessions, which do not always get admitted into testimony. This is how I'm going to bring in what people saw, what people hear, on dying declarations and stuff like that. This is how I'm going to submit to the jury that so-and-so is guilty. This is how I'm going to show that they acted in concert. This is how I'm going to show the jury how you don't have to pull the trigger. You don't have to be the person who strangulated someone in their death, but you are part and parcel of an evil scheme, a deceptive plan, a criminal enterprise. to kill Adrienna Younge. Thank you very much. May God bless you and continue. And I hope that justice is done and served in this case. Thank you very much. May God bless you all. This is your elected district leader of Little Guyana, Richmond Hill, and Richmond Hill Ozone Park, South Ozone Park, signing off now and telling you to keep the faith. Thank you very much, and may God bless you. Bye-bye.